Hi, I'm Mariann Kitten. Welcome back to my channel where we explore all things finance, travel, and early retirement. Today we're going to go into a little more detail about some of the information I brought up last week. My son watched the video and he said all of those finance terms were a lot to parse. Since one of the points of my channel is to make personal finance clear and easy for everyone, I figured I'd make a beginning finance video or two. I'm not sure I should trust him though, because he also said I should call my channel the Wiggity Wiggity What Up Finance Faction. But I like teaching, so here goes. Let's start by defining some personal finance terms. That way, when we start talking about personal finance, we'll understand each other. First, let's talk about assets. An asset is something of value that you own, like cash or real estate, or my favorite, a big gold bar you can use as a doorstop. Just kidding, don't do that. You might stub your toe on it. The opposite of an asset is a liability. That's a debt you owe, such as a loan or a credit card balance. Some people might say their kids are a liability, but that's a different thing altogether. The fewer non-human liabilities you have, the better. Although some people might say getting a mortgage or a loan with low interest rate and then investing the money in the stock market is a good reason to have a liability. That's a pretty advanced technique, and you probably better save that for later in your journey. Your assets minus your liabilities is your net worth. If you paid off all your loans and sold everything you owned, what you have left would be your net worth. For some people, that's a negative number. Having a negative number is not the worst thing in the world. It's not uncommon for people who are buying a house or people with large student loans. However, it's important not to have high-interest credit card debt or borrow money from loan sharks. It's best to just make do without buying things that won't eventually bring you more income, like a good education can. Speaking of which, our next term is income. Income is money earned from work, investments, or business. The other day, I applied for a credit card, and where it asked my income, I put 0. Not a surprise when my application was declined. I was thinking about income from work, but interest and dividends and capital gains are also income. I didn't make that mistake the next time I applied. If you ever look at the offer from Amazon Prime credit card, they make it super clear that you can include all kinds of income, including your spouse's wages, although I'm not sure my spouse would agree that his wages are my income. Once you have income and expenses, you need a budget. That sounds scary, but it's just a plan for your expected income and expenses. If you have a balanced budget, your income is higher than your expenses. If it's out of balance one month, you might be fine, but it's a good idea to write down all of your income and all of your expenses to make sure you're living within your means. That might mean taking public transportation or walking instead of buying a car. It might mean cooking at home instead of takeout or eating in restaurants. It might mean living in a studio apartment in a less desirable part of town. On the bright side, once you know all of your expenses, you can adjust them. And if you keep your fixed expenses as low as possible, that will give you an opportunity to save up for special treats. One important place to save up is your emergency fund. That's savings for unexpected costs. You've got your budget for monthly expenses, but inevitably something comes up. If you own a house in particular, things break and need to be replaced, or a car unexpectedly needs a repair. If you don't have an emergency fund, you'll end up with high-interest credit card debt if you have to drive to work or keep from freezing when the furnace goes out. Speaking of high-interest credit card debt, our next term is interest rate. That's the cost of borrowing or the return on savings. When you buy a house and can't pay for the whole thing in cash, congratulations to you if you can, you take out a mortgage. The bank pays for the house minus your down payment, and then you make monthly payments. Right now, mortgage interest rates are close to 6%, which is why people can't afford to buy houses right now. And if you did buy a house with a 6% mortgage rate, paying it off quickly would basically be an investment at a guaranteed 6% rate of return. At that rate, it would probably be better to pay a little extra to your mortgage each month than to invest in the stock market. The stock market has returned an average of over 10% a year during the last 30 years, but a guaranteed 6% savings is a lot different than a possible 10% gain. When mortgage interest rates are low as 2.61% in 2021, it's probably not worth paying it off early. Worse than a high-interest mortgage rate is credit card debt. Most credit cards charge over 20% interest on debt you don't pay off in full each month. If you have credit card debt, make paying that off a priority. The principal of a mortgage or loan is the initial amount borrowed or invested. When you pay your monthly mortgage payment, particularly at first, most of the money is going toward interest payments, and very little is paying off the principal. Depending on the mortgage, you can often make extra payments that will directly lower the principal, which in the end also lowers the amount of interest you pay over the life of the loan. You may have heard people talking about credit score. That's just a number that shows how likely you are to repay debt. The lower your credit score, the higher your interest will be on loans, if a lender is even willing to loan you money. You can keep a good credit score by paying your credit card payments in full and on time. Our next term is inflation. That's what we call rising prices that reduce your money's buying power. When we are saving money or investing, if we can't get a return higher than inflation, our money is just becoming less and less valuable. If you put your money under a mattress or in a jar, eventually it'll be worthless. My father likes to talk about what he used to be able to buy for 10 cents that now costs $2.30. Speaking of which, I remember when gasoline was 10 cents a gallon. It's a good thing wages have increased along with inflation, or we wouldn't be able to afford a piece of gum. Now we've come to my very favorite personal finance term, compound interest. That is earnings on an investment that generates further earnings. At first, your savings is the most important thing. You put $50 a paycheck into a savings account and watch your savings grow. The interest earned on that $50 doesn't look like much, but when you keep saving and your savings keeps earning interest and your interest is being paid on the savings and the interest, it starts growing faster and faster until you could just stop putting the $50 in the account at all because the interest is so much more than the amount you're saving. But that's a topic for an entire video. There are lots of videos out there on compound interest. You should definitely check them out. And eventually I'll make one of my own that I hope you'll enjoy as well. I'm Mariann Kitten. Thanks for joining me today for the whole kit and caboodle. This week's quote is from American investor, mutual fund manager, author, and philanthropist Peter Lynch. Know what you own and know why you own it. As always, stay safe and be good.